Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to the BlueGamer Bluecast Live. I don't know what episode number it is, but it's been a while. That's right. Since 2007, I have been doing doing a podcast, a gaming podcast, with some little breaks here and there. But yeah, my name is Adam Blue. For those that don't know, I've been following gaming for so long. It could be the industry. I even did some light journalism as a hobby I guess in the 2000s mainly. Beginning of the 2010s is when I started kind of veering off, but back in it. Thanks for joining. For today's episode, going to talk a little bit about Assassin's Creed Mirage. Now that that's dropped, give my impressions on that. Also, I picked up a third-party gaming controller. My first time kind of going third-party with gaming controllers because it seems like there's this sort of era that's never existed before where third-party controllers are actually awesome, if not better than the first party. Man, that's never happened before. And then just some other news that's popped up this week. To start, what I've been playing this week. What have I been playing, actually? I can usually get that by looking at my Steam. A lot of Call of Duty. They got the new Battle Pass out with Spawn in it, which is awesome. Waiting for Ash, mainly. Let's see here. Okay, Grand Blue Fantasy. So this was suggested to me by a friend of mine who's active with my other YouTube channel, Gundam Explained. It's sort of a very Japanese anime-like fighting game brawler, because it's set up like a fighting game, but it has like an RPG as like the first option you can choose. Let me turn this light on. And the combat's really cool in it. I gotta play it some more because so far I've gone through maybe 20 missions, and they're all been pretty easy. I haven't really had to think about it, and that happens sometimes. It reminds me of Dynasty Warriors, and I don't know if I'm alone in this, but they're mainly Japanese style games like Dynasty Warriors or like this, where a lot of times you're just button mashing and there's not really depth to it until like maybe a boss later. I don't know. We'll see. Curious if anyone else has played that. Yeah, I've been playing Double Dragon Gaiden. Even though I've beaten it, I've still played it a little bit. Played a demo for an FPS called Cultic, which looks like a play on Blood. If you remember that original FPS Blood in the 90s, loved that. Yeah, it was one of my favorite FPSs. And there's some sequels to it, but there's kind of this, not even really a spiritual successor. It's just an FPS that plays on it, because, the boomer shooters, which I hate that name, but they're all coming back. Another one, Diluvian Ultra, which seemed to be like a crazy type of boomer shooter, where it uses all different types of old school graphics with modern stuff, and it's pretty neat. But that's, I think that's really been it for what I've been playing. Yeah, it's just been Call of Duty, a few beat 'em ups, playing on the Xbox last night. I was doing some two-player with my son, and he was like, hey, let's play that Power Rangers brawler beat 'em up that came out like in 2016 or so. And that's a great game. We pulled that up, and we were playing. I was like, wow, I forgot about this. And then, yeah, Assassin's Creed Mirage, which I'm going to talk about here shortly. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to bring up, because I really think I'm just waiting for the other releases to come out. Like Assassin's Creed Mirage is more of a I'll try and see, but really Super Mario Wonder, Spider-Man, Lords of the Fallen, Sonic. Yeah, so I wonder what one I'm really gonna get into, because the last game that I think I was playing constantly, and even then wasn't too much, was Armored Core. I mean, I really like it, but it wasn't all into a game, the type of game that really pulls me in like Double Dragon Gaiden did. Yeah, so we'll see there. So, next thing I want to talk about before I get into the Assassin's Creed Mirage impressions is I picked up my first third-party controller, and I didn't know what to go with. Originally, I was going to go with the 8-bit DOE. The only reason was because of the whole Hall effect thing that comes up with controllers, where it uses magnetic sensors for the analog sticks, and because of that, then drift won't happen. I've repaired 2 Series X controllers and 2 Joy-Cons recently that suffered that fate, where I just went on Amazon and really under 20 bucks bought replacements, took the controllers apart, put the analog sticks on. It seems complicated, but it's really easy. I mean, I feel like if I can do it, anyone can. It's easier than it seems. Just hit me up if you have any questions about it. But I decided, well, if I'm going to buy another controller, maybe I'll get one with the Hall effect sensors. And then I saw that, Xbox has their new Elite Core and then Elite 2. No, it's Elite 2 Core and Elite 2, and those are like 100 plus. And I'm like, there's got to be a way that I can have a nice quality controller with the features I want without having to pay a lot. And so that's where I got this, what is it called? It's called the TK4. Gamesir is the brand. You might have heard of Gamesir before because they came out with this wired 360 controller that is killer. Like, there's so many good things about it. So why did I go with this one? Well, a couple reasons. It has the Hall effect sensors for the joysticks. It has mechanical face buttons, so it's clicky mechanical face buttons. What were some other things about? Oh, it was $40. Yeah, $40, which that's probably the first thing I went for, right? It's almost like a Venn diagram of things. $40, Hall effect, mechanical buttons, and then the other thing, wired. I don't know if it's just because I've been playing a lot of Call of Duty lately, but I can really, and Call of Duty and Gundam Battle Operation 2, where I'm on PS Remote Play and not, where I can tell when there's just a little bit of input lag. I can tell the delay in the input lag for those games. And I've gotten to the point where since I've noticed it on those types of games, it's like, well, let's get something that kind of eliminates that. Yeah, and not only is this one of the highest rated for that, I think it's like called polling or something, 1,000 hertz or something. I'm not too sure on that technology yet, but Gamer Heaven. Yeah, Gamer Heaven's a YouTube channel that kind of helped me with this. Yeah, so, yeah. I was talking about the Venn diagram, Hall effect, mechanical buttons, the price, it's wired. Also, the look of it. I love transparent things and LED lights. So I was like, you know what? Why not have something fun like that? Not that that really matters, but it's just icing on the cake, I guess. One thing at first I didn't like, but it's growing on me, is the thumbsticks. These use the PS5 design thumbsticks, or I guess, let me get my PS5 controller out. A less, not as domed. So, the difference between the Xbox and PlayStation had always been the dome versus non-dome, convex, concave, right? What this controller does is kind of combines both, and it actually might be hard to see here. I'm trying to move it toward the light a little more, or just look it up. But it allows just enough of a dome in the center that outside of this ridge here, I can also get some grip in the center. And I've noticed with Call of Duty, it allows me to be a little more precise with the smaller aim. Also, another thing is the D-pad. I don't know how to explain it, but the D-pad feels incredible. This is probably one of the best D-pads. I think my favorite D-pad ever was the 360 transformable D-pad. That D-pad was amazing, and they didn't carry that over for the next Xboxes, but the D-pad on this is great. And the only problem I'm having, though, and I don't know how much of a problem it is yet, and it could be easily fixed, is this right bumper. It's not doing it now, but sometimes it will stick. Yeah, like right now, it's when I'm pressing it more up on the top, on the inside, instead of the outside. The outside's fine. I guess it depends. I was playing a fighting game, and so it was less that my finger was on the right trigger and more that I just had my hand. Oh yeah, the game I didn't mention I was playing, SNK Heroines. I don't want to be made fun of. It's just all anime girls from all the different fighting games. I like fighting games, and I like anime girl. But so since I'm playing a fighting game, I'm having my finger right on the top of this, and I kept pressing it, and I realized my special wasn't activating, and I realized, wait a minute, it's stuck. But when I'm playing something like Call of Duty, I'm using the right trigger, then moving up to this kind of edge here, and I'm not noticing it. So that's something to keep an eye out for. 2 back buttons. I don't use back buttons on controllers, and I want to start getting to use them because I feel like, for instance, on Call of Duty, and I did this, I mapped jump and duck, and I feel like that would be amazing as I'm playing. I can jump and look, I can crouch and look around, or yeah, without lifting my hand off the look to press. But my muscle memory makes me forget to press that. So I've kind of been just not using it, but I need to. I need to get around to it. Anyway, so Gamesir, look up their controllers. They're some of the best, especially at the price. Oh yeah, the other thing is the grip. I'm all about having grip. This has grip on it. But yeah, I'm all about optimal controls and not spending a lot of money, and I am shocked how cheap that is. I think if I was going to get another controller, I'd probably get the 8-bit Doe Ultimate, Bluetooth or 2.4 hertz. I guess it depends if I was going to be on Switch or not, which brings me to another thing. This isn't made for the Xbox. This is made for PC and Switch, right? That's odd. But what's really cool is, and some other features I forgot to mention, is it has so many things you can program and do on the controller itself. That's even controlling the LED lights. That's controlling mapping the buttons, but also swapping A and B. So there's a combination of buttons you could press on here that swaps A and B to play more like either a Japanese game or a Nintendo game. And the reason I say Japanese games is a lot of, like when I import Japanese games or play Japanese games that were only released in Japan on like PS3, the B and A are switched. So if you're playing Switch emulators, Nintendo emulators, whatever, on PC, that controller makes it easy to do all that stuff. So mind blown on third-party controllers being better than first-party. That's a good example right there. And I'll be looking into those more. I've been going down that YouTube rabbit hole of gaming controllers. Didn't realize how cool they are. Next, I'm going to try those little thumb caps, the grips, to see if that does anything. But anyway, moving on. Next up, Assassin's Creed Mirage. First impressions, to be honest, it's almost like when I'm doing laundry. I get to that first step, and then I realize, now I gotta walk all the way over here with this to put it in there to then do that, so then I can have them clean. So when I'm playing Assassin's Creed Mirage, it's like, one of the quests of the mission was like, go here and talk to these people. And I'm like, oh, one of those, huh? So I go and I talk to them, and then they're like, yeah, now go over there and talk to them. And I'm like, oh God, is this game? And it's like, I understand games have to have that sometimes to move it forward narratively, but the beginning of that game is too slow. It's at one point it starts showing the credits, or like the opening credits. I'm like, whoa, so that whole time wasn't really the start of the game, and I'm still going through training stuff. And I will say the controls are better, especially when it comes to parkouring around, instead of holding down the right trigger. It's a little more fluid with pressing A as you're on the edge of things. To be honest, I forgot if Valhalla or Odyssey changed it up a bunch, but it's like Zelda Ocarina of Time. That was the first game that kind of showed this to me, where you walk to the edge of something, and it says when you're at the edge of something, you can press A to jump over it. And I'm like, what? Why can't I just jump at all times? That in the combat is super simple. RB to attack, LB to parry. So far, that's all it is. Now you have right trigger to like throw something, which I thought was pretty cool, because if you hold down the right trigger, you select what you want to throw, and then you let go. So I like how it's like quick managing that. I don't remember like other games where you use like the D-pad to manage what you throw. I don't know. But just with RB being attack and LB being parry, it makes the combat a little more simple. I don't feel like, okay, like Spider-Man, I think, is the best example of, I'm going to get into combat. Okay, I have all these tools at my disposal. What am I going to do to take these people out? With Assassin's Creed, it just feels a little less like when you're in combat. Before combat, outside of combat, you can make some decisions, especially if you're going to sneak around, do one of your various assassin things to get through combat. But the actual combat itself, I feel like they could do better and should do better. The vibe I'm getting is, Ubisoft didn't release an Assassin's Creed last year. This one is a little scaled back. Even the graphics aren't crazy. It runs perfect on the ROG Ally. I feel like this was, while they had that Assassin's Creed, and I think it's officially called Red, that's coming out soon. It's based off this Infinity idea where it's like a whole platform. This Assassin's Creed's really scaled back, probably at a lower budget. I wouldn't say it's bad, and I would say it's for fans of Assassin's Creed for sure. But for me, someone that is looking to evolve my gaming experience with iterations of popular games, I'm looking for new things. And if something's not new enough for me, I'll move on. And that's what happened with the Tears from the Kingdom. You know, there's been a lot of crafting in games lately, Roblox, Minecraft, Fortnite with their whole build mode. So once I realized Tears of the Kingdom was based around that, that's was like, well, this is not for me right now. And I'll get back to it, I'm sure, once Switch 2 comes out and we get 4K 60 version, which will be next year. I guarantee next year that will happen. There'll probably be a Breath of the Wild. I wonder if they'll resell Breath of the Wild for the Switch 2 or come up with an update or we'll just play better. I don't know. That'll be interesting to see. But speaking of Switch, so anyway, I wanted to end my Assassin's Creed thing with, it's okay, I'm paying $14.99 on that UB Connect so I can play the deluxe edition. I think that's super fair that I paid $15, and in a month, maybe I'll beat it, or maybe I'll determine I don't need to play anymore. And even if I pay another month, $30 is still a great price for 2 months of playing a brand new game, deluxe edition. So, gotta hand it to Ubisoft, actually. I really think they're trying to make what they are, like an awesome gaming-centric place. Just sometimes the games don't land. And sometimes when they do, they just don't carry them forward. Like Starlink, they should have doubled down on that. Immortals Phoenix Rising, they should have doubled down on that. Luckily, after the Star Wars Outlaws that's coming out, which should be amazing because Massive does a great job. Their Massive is then going to make Division 3, which I would think maybe by now the clout that they will have as a developer within Ubisoft, probably like their premier developer. While I think Division 2 are fun, the game needs a little bit more to it. Division 3, maybe that. Okay. So, we were talking about Switch, and so I guess that's the segue to this next thing. So, BizDoc Podcast. I just discovered this person because as someone that watches podcasts, listens to podcasts a lot, I came across this Patrick Bet David, I believe his name is, which is pretty interesting to listen to. I'm not into political stuff, but I kind of like how he will talk politics a lot, but a lot of times it's very like questioning the side aspect. I'm not a believer in these sides. I think that's a veil. You know, I don't want to get political here, but anyway, just through this guy, because I like the information they kind of bring. They question everything. They don't, assume everything at face value. There's this other guy on there, and I feel bad because I forget his name. He tends to say some pretty cool stuff. Does it say his name in here? Is it Tom? It might be this Tom Ellsworth. Anyway, he does financial stuff, and a lot of times it's good information, but sometimes I don't know, and I'm about to explain why now if the information is correct. So it was interesting. He did a video on the product life cycle and is Nintendo falling behind. And in this, he's showing a graph and showing where we have GameCube and Game Boy up into that, which is interesting. I'm assuming they really mean Game Boy Advance. And then it's showing Wii, Wii U, DS, 3DS. And he's making a comparison of like, look at their hardware sales with the DS, 3DS, the Wii, and then look at Switch. And I think something he didn't realize is that's at a time when Nintendo had kind of two product development cycles that were occurring. The handheld market, the home market, which smartly Nintendo combined into one. So I mean, if you look at this graph and you see the blue and green, you would then assume that that's how much financially that they are investing into their products. Now, when you get to Switch, you would assume, especially with how Nintendo works, that they're able to reduce costs by the time they get to something like the Switch, because there's only one then product line they're developing for. They don't have to make games for multiple services, and we all know with their software, Nintendo never has to put their games on sale. They always sell at full price, $60, $50, $60, whatever Switch is at now. Like Mario Kart 8 still sells. Since the Wii U, Mario Kart 8 still sells like crazy. But anyway, he on this, it was interesting in this video because he was talking about Nintendo needs to do something because their Switch is falling behind. And it's like, well, this is a normal part of their cycle because the Switch 2 will be out next year. So, I mean, it could be that this guy's not someone that then does the deep research specifically into, and this guy covers broad range of things, so I don't want to like knock him on this. But a lot of people know Switch 2 is coming out next year. Just based on what they've done with the Switch, I have a feeling the Switch 2 is going to sell well. I think the difference with the Wii and the Wii U was the Wii did the motion controls. It was all new for everyone. The Wii U was just another handheld in a way when there was already a 3DS, so people didn't really need a Wii U. With the Switch, it was about time that a new handheld came out from Nintendo. And for people that are handheld gamers looking at a Switch, they're like, wow, this is an amazing handheld. People that are console gamers looking at a Switch, they're like, wow, I can, unlike the Wii U, I can actually take my console anywhere. And I think this is going to make the Switch 2, because what's going to happen is when Nintendo starts showing off the Switch 2, we're going to start seeing games with amazing graphics. I mean, with something like the ROG Ally, the fact that I can play the games I can handheld, the Switch 2, and we already know that there's been some rumors, some talk about it targeting potentially Xbox One, PS4, probably a little better than that graphics, with, you know, the rumors about the original Fallen Order being remastered for PS4 and Xbox One. Why would you do that? I mean, other than PS4 still selling pretty good, but having a Switch 2 version. And then all those other rumors coming up with Unreal Engine 5, that Nintendo showing off. So anyway, I just thought it was very interesting to see an analyst that doesn't cover the games industry make these interesting remarks about Nintendo that were not necessarily accurate, but it's just interesting to see from a gamer's perspective what outsiders think about that stuff. And remember, Nintendo's the type of company where if they're losing money, their executives take pay cuts. That's happened before. So if anything, what we're seeing with this is the inevitable, where things are going to go up and down. That's why you have something like Assassin's Creed Mirage, which probably had way less of a budget than the previous Assassin's Creed. Yeah, Ubisoft skipped a year of Assassin's Creed, made a smaller game. This is that reducing that budget, which really speaks to the next part. Do I have that here? Yeah. So, you know, I see with the gaming news, Telltale Games reportedly laid off most of its employees. A lot of companies are laying off their employees. And this is actually not just video game industry specific. This is far and wide. A lot of it's just the way the market is right now. Interest rates are super high. A lot of companies that hire a lot, they borrow a lot. Sometimes they borrow to pay employees. So it's at a point now with interest rates being so high that they can't necessarily rely on borrowing to pay for things. And you think, well, you shouldn't be doing that in the first place. It's like, yeah, kind of. But companies, especially tech companies now, are in this kind of new bubble that has been forming for a while where you borrow money to do things. So I think, you know, just like we saw with Ubisoft, which maybe they were a little smart and did it ahead of time, a lot of companies are now having to lay off because things are needing to have smaller budgets. Things are needing to, you know, because people are buying video games. But, and then again, you look at Nintendo, how successful they can be, and their games are a generation behind in terms of the technology that is utilized. So that's probably cheaper than, you know, modern publishers are chasing, and modern AAA publishers are chasing high-end stuff because they feel like gamers need that, but they don't. And I don't know why they don't understand that yet, because we can look at Nintendo and see that people aren't looking for high-end graphics every second. So it's just one of those things, and even in the industry I'm in IT security, like layoffs are happening. It's just what's going on right now. The industry needs to back, I mean, not the industry, but the economy. We just look at interest rates. That really has nothing to do with specifically video games or IT security. But the industry rate issue is telling on both what got us there, where we're going. Layoffs are just a part of it. For anyone that's in a position where they're afraid they're going to get laid off or going to be laid off, it's best to kind of try to diversify, which I keep saying PlayStation needs to do that with their genres of games on their consoles, but even as an individual, you should try to diversify what skill sets you have. I went from digital marketing to IT security, trying to survive, you know, paying bills and all that. And part of it was luck, part of it was knowing what technology, you know, is prevalent. That, you know, helped me. So I would consider that. Okay, so that's for that piece of news. What was the other one? Oh, here's another Sony-related one that I think is the smart move Sony made. So the PlayStation Portal is sold out everywhere. I remember I got the email. It was actually a notification on the PlayStation app where Sony's all like, hey, you can pre-order the Portal if you want, secure it now. And I was about to do it, but I'm like, you know what? I have the ROG Ally, and I can use Chiaki. What I will wait and see, though, is people using, because I love, like in the screenshot here, you can see the controller grips. That is the ultimate way to experience a portable. That's, you know, like with the ROG Ally, I have it right here. Like the grips, these are 3D printed grips I have on it, and even they are not what I would want. I mean, if you look at the PlayStation 5, actually I have the controller right here. You can just see how there's more elongation, and it sticks out up into the triggers, which here it doesn't. So it's I wish I had a better grip. A new grip is coming in from JSOX. It's a new company making some cool gaming accessories. But anyway, PlayStation Portal has that. I want to hear what people are saying when they're playing it. If they feel like that the technology Sony is using allows for like a seamless experience, I will probably buy one alongside the ROG Ally. But we'll see. Just knowing that it's sold out everywhere is awesome. I heard too being very popular in Japan, because in Japan, again, Nintendo kind of revolutionized the handheld gaming market in Japan. That lends itself better in a market like Japan, where, and I don't know if this is always the case, but I see this, I hear about it, and I see it on documentaries, but smaller homes, tighter lifestyles, so like having a portable where you have your console plugged in, but you don't have to use the TV, that's pretty awesome. I mean, and I think that's the future if you think about it. If it's not an at-home external GPU, there's got to be a time when broadband is powerful enough where a cloud computing platform can do the computations of the graphical fidelity on whatever device you're using. I just wonder what's next. Is it a controller and then you wear glasses that project a giant TV? I kind of think that is the direction it's going. I mean, looking at a small screen is one thing, but I can kind of see where this kind of moves to where you like either put on glasses, or what if the controller itself, now this is getting some sci-fi stuff, but I think it's possible. With the controller itself, it maybe has some optical lenses or readers on it that you register your eyes on. I don't know where I'm going with this. I do actually, but it's when you start playing a game, maybe the game is processing through the controller, and it can beam something into your eyes to make it look like you're viewing. I don't know. Maybe you have to keep your head. I don't know. That's kind of a cool idea. I mean, we're supposed to get contact lenses, right? That are like Google Lens or something. Anyway, that is that. Was there other gaming news I wanted to touch on? I touched on that. Redfall got an update, which maybe then I'll give it another shot, because they kind of added where there's more of a... Oh, not only does it have like apparently a 60 FPS thing on console, even though I play on PC, but they kind of changed the gameplay experience around the mechanics, where there's more... Melee is more integrated into the way it works. I don't know the details on that. Yeah, stealth takedowns is one thing it's saying. So I'd like to try that. You know, always something with a video game when in a combat system, if it has another mechanic that kind of lends to options, like I was speaking on earlier, options to how you approach a sequence, I appreciate that. So, yeah, an idea of doing stealth takedowns, that's pretty cool. Was there some other news? Oh, yeah, the Activision Blizzard thing. I know they said this before, but apparently like October 12th is the day that it's done, that it's, you know, closed. Really can't wait, because really what I'm hoping for is on Game Pass, we all of a sudden get a library of old school Activision games that have been delisted. There's amazing Activision games that you just can't really buy anymore. And I mean, remember that X-Men Origins game? The Wolverine one? That game was sick. I would love that to be re-released, and Microsoft has to go all the way on that, right? I really feel like if they have a trove of Marvel games and they can like relicense that or get some sort of deal where they can re-release those, like the Ultimate Alliance games, all that stuff. Yeah, that'd be really cool. So I guess that's that. I feel like, yeah, there's one more thing I was going to mention. It has to do with a lot of times when I'm watching or listening to podcasts about gaming commentators, industry commentators talk about the Activision Blizzard deal, they talk about the FTC being dumb. Like, Why do they keep pushing this? What do they think is going to happen? And it's like, well, I think you're missing the point. The FTC is purposely scrutinizing as much as possible just to make sure that this is the right thing for the consumers. If a government entity was to turn a blind eye at some sort of regulatory, what am I trying to say? I guess some things that can occur from a merger that defies regulatory compliance for the goods of the consumer, that would put us in a lot of trouble. So for the FTC to be scrutinizing this deal as much as possible is a good thing. Even if before October 12th, they're saying something else like, FTC is actually questioning this. That's great. Because then the next time a merger needs to happen, it will go through much easier if it doesn't have much layers as this Activision Blizzard one does. And then if something is bigger than an Activision Blizzard, they'll go through the cycles again plus some. So, honestly, the FTC is doing their job when it comes to that. But anyway, I think that's it for today. Thanks for all that have listened or joined. If you have any questions, anything you want me to bring up on a future episode, just leave it in the comments below. But until then, have a good weekend. See y'all later.